It's that time of the week where we bring you our shot clock. It's a very simple format. The two of us go head to head. We have 2 minutes to discuss a topic, and at the end of it, one of us wins. And we also bring you 5 minutes of uninterrupted, proper conversation about a topic that we want or a guest that we want.
I got a win last week when you weren't here.
Oh yeah, good. Who'd you beat? Nathan?
Nathan, yeah.
Kerry beating Mayo. Nothing's new there.
I gave it to myself, I must say.
Right, let's start with where are we going?
Yeah, we're going to start with last night after the City United game. There was calls from the Sky Sports team for Roy Keane to have a role in football high up at Man United, and what's your thoughts on that, Ger? Is he fit for that kind of director of football role?
I've been saying this for a little while. The best thing that Roy Keane can do in football is to sit in that studio week in, week out and replace Thierry Henry and bring a little bit of edge to proceedings. You could see just the body language. Joe Hart was a bit like, even Gary Neville, who's like unflappable.
Yeah.
Gary Neville, who came out of the Valencia gig smelling even better than he did when he went into it. It's like, oh, I tried this now. I know a little bit about it. There's the eye roll. That's like, there's a gif of him. There's a gif of him on Twitter this morning where he's kind of jumping on it. It's like he just wants. It's like that's his role in football. As we know, his role as an assistant manager at Ireland was not an unqualified success. Was not a success, really, when you think about the Stephen Ward WhatsApp. Is there a role in football for somebody like that? Yeah. On the couch, as a pundit. I know he hated punditry, but it's time for him to accept the 3 or 4 million quid a year that Sky are going to give him and sit on the couch week in, week out and make ourselves be more enjoyable, make football be more enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah, I think he's certainly, to watch him, and if he was on Sky every weekend, or you'd be absolutely glued to it every weekend, because he calls it as he sees it. And I think you're right on Neville. I think Neville's still a small bit scared of his former captain, and you can kind of see why Keane and even Sir Alex, when United were in their pomp, Sir Alex had control of the club, Keane had control of the players, and it was a kind of a perfect match when it was working. But I think his knowledge, and I think there's probably more of a look. He'd be great for him to be co-presenter on one of these shows, but I just think with his knowledge in football and his ability, as you can say, he's looking straight through those United players. I think he has a role where
no, you wouldn't respond to somebody shouting at you, would you?
No, but I'm saying, that shouldn't be his role. Like, I think he can be above that, where he's kind of just overlooking everything. There's no way if Roy Keane was director of football United,
ambassador in the prawn sandwiches brigade. How are you doing? Are you enjoying the game, lads?
There's no way if Roy Keane was director of football, there'd be 801 million spent in that shit that we saw earlier on. There'd be just no way it'd be happening. Okay, so there might be a good role for Roy Keane. That's what they asked him last night, and yeah, it'd be interesting to have him on there. His
transfer record at Sunderland, Ipswich, not the very best.
Sunderland, he did okay at Sunderland. He got them promoted and kept them in the league.
Some doozies in that. 15 million quid for Craig Gordon. World record for a goalkeeper seems to be the one, the 6 out. Right, personal awards, they matter, right? We're looking back with Ruby Walsh at a roadshow last night. It's going to go out on the radio tomorrow night. I was looking back to go, he must have been Sports Personality of the Year at some point. Maybe that time that he won 4 races at Cheltenham in one single day, setting a record. Maybe he was Sports Personality of the Year. Not even nominated. Not nominated this decade. He's like the single most identifiable face in Irish racing. He's been in the vanguard of popularising the entire sport, taking it out of the niche that it used to be on Sports Stadium on a Saturday when you were a kid going, oh, Jesus, here comes this shit again, to actually make it something that everybody realises is a hugely vibrant, important part of our culture. Ruby Walsh is kind of right there and never nominated, not this decade, as RTE Sports Personality of the Year since 2010. I couldn't find the records going back beyond that, but he hasn't won it and he hasn't been nominated. Personal awards matter. It's time to recognise Ruby. It's time to recognise everybody, and it's time to take these things seriously.
For me, personal awards don't matter.
That's because you won Footballer of the Year. You've got one.
Yeah, but like,
ask Gooch, does it matter?
I don't think it does to Gooch. I think Gooch knows he's standing in the game. I think Gooch knows how good he was. Gooch didn't get Footballer of the Year. Footballer of the Year is normally picked in 3 or 4 games in the run into the thing. It's actually done all wrong. All Stars and Footballer of the Year. It should be managers voting from the first league game to the end of the season, to the end of the championship. That's your barometer. It has to be every game. That there's the Aussie rules do it where it's every game where they put the player in. Coaches in the NBA get to pick their All-American teams. They get to put the players in. That's the choice. The All-Stars are picked by the fans. So it doesn't matter. It never mattered to me. I don't think it mattered to Gooch.
Because you got one. It's grand for you because you got one.
But I don't even think is Ruby bothered about that.
I don't know, but we should be bothered that he didn't get it.
Yeah, I agree. He should definitely be nominated. It's an absolute joke. But You can say that I have one and that's why I don't care, but I'm going on, I'll tell you, as a player, I played and people always told me, my grandmother told me, managers told me, fans told me, you should score more, you can score more, you're turning down scores. I just didn't care who scored. I'm not one of the guys. They tell you the person that cares about individual awards, that picks up the paper and looks to see how they scored and what they did.
Who's that handsome young man picking up his Player of the Year award in 2006?
Yeah, I had a good 4 games that year.
Paul Pogba's in the Team of the Year, it looks like, as voted for by the players, which goes to show you players know next to nothing. Trent Alexander-Arnold is right back. I don't know, I'm not sure about that. He was injured for a good period of time there as well. Aymeric Laporte alongside Virgil van Dijk, Ederson in goals, Robertson at left back, Pogba, Fernandinho, Bernardo Silva, Raheem Sterling, Sadio Mane and Sergio Aguero.
It's hard to disagree with.
Nathan did his poll last night.
Screaming, yeah.
Who was screwed over the most by not being picked in the Team of the Year? Mo Salah, 22%, Eden Hazard, 14%, 4% David Silva, 60% Matt Doherty, all in capitals, just in case you missed what you were supposed to vote for last night from Nathan. Right, so we're moving on. Yeah, we're moving on to the NBA playoffs, Ger. Your boys, the Golden State Warriors, lost last night. They're without Boogie Cousins. I think they're in a bit of trouble. I'm not sure about that. I think once you've got Steph Curry in your team, all will be well. So they already have shown that they get a bit bored in these 4-game series. There's a game in and they're like, I mean, do we really have to put it on tonight? And then when it's put up to them, when there's a deadline, like a college student absolutely cramming, they're like, okay, we're back to our best. Yeah, I think, yeah, like there's certainly a degree of that in their 2 losses to the Clippers. Obviously, the first one they're up 31 points. There's no way they should lose, but I think there's starting to be a few cracks there. They're playing Golden State. If they beat the Clippers tomorrow night, they're playing Golden State, or they're playing the Houston Rockets, and I think they're going to struggle. And I'll tell you why, because they were the big 5. They were the big 3 originally when they had Draymond, Steph, and Klay Thompson. Then they were the big 4 when Kevin Durant came in. Everybody was saying, oh my God. Then they got Boogie Cousins. They were the big 5. Boogie Cousins is gone with a quad injury. They're going to miss him for the rest of the season. They're going to be going with Andrew Bogut probably instead. Draymond Green also isn't at the level he was at a few years ago. He's still going to give you the hustle and stuff defensively, but he used to be able to shoot the ball. His confidence is gone, so teams are standing so far off and they're clogging up their lane. They're making it hard for everybody else. There's loads of stuff going on in the NBA playoffs. Unbelievable. Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook having the beef that's going on, that went on, and then Dame hit the 38-footer from inside the logo, a logo shot we'd call it, so just from inside his own half, hits the game winner to beat Russell Westbrook and OKC last night. And them 2 boys have been going at it, and I absolutely thought it was brilliant. It was old school playoff basketball. I think there's too many guys in the NBA now. They're all buddy, they're all high fives, hugs before the game, hugs after the game, don't worry about it. I loved seeing Lillard and Westbrook, who genuinely don't like each other, not being afraid to hide it, calling each other out, going at each other hard, and made the best man win and the best team win in the end. Portland were the best team. They were the 3 seed, and they sit into Western Conference semi-finals waiting for down the road. But there's lots going on in the East. You've got the Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, who'll be tipping off over the weekend, and you also got the 76ers, and the 76ers got Toronto Raptors. So the East semi-finals, the East Conference first round were poor, but the semi-finals are going to be brilliant. Who's going to win it if it's not the Golden State Warriors? The Rockets, who were my pick a while back. So yeah, I think the Rockets. I think they had the Warriors last year, and Chris Paul got injured, and he's the best true point guard in the league. A point guard who runs a team, sees the floor, gets the ball to the right guy all the time. Steph is the best scoring point guard, obviously, and Russ is the most powerful point guard. But I think Chris Paul, they missed him last year, and they were leading the series against Golden State, and ended up losing it altogether without Chris Paul. Who was that player that you would have been at like that, who you actually properly hated I'm not going to make friends with you before, and I'm not going to make friends with you afterwards when you were playing? I'm not necessarily don't make friends after them, because I was always a guy who kind of, any guys that would have been on international rules teams would have said that about me. Yeah, absolutely, I hated them when I was playing against them. But then if I got into an Irish setup and they were on my team and with the win, yeah, I was very easy to forget about everything. And like Joe McMahon, hated Joe McMahon when his beard roaring in Tommy Walsh's face, his brother roaring in my face, Ricey popping into my ear from the other corner. There was all that going on. And then we're selected for the international rules, and I found out that when I was living in Tyrone for a year, I was in Joe McMahon's class, and we were best friends. Yeah, we were best friends on that tour, as in we were often Joe kind of slipped into the rounds with a few of the Kerry boys, myself and Tig and Tommy Walsh. So
Joe wanted to test his abilities with us, and well able.
All right, let's move on. Paul Pogba, we were talking about this a little bit earlier on with Daniel Harris. Do you want to keep your most talented person, the one who is the transcendent talent in your group, or do you want to cash in, take the money and move on? Draw a line under the experiment and say, that was a failure, we're not buying players just because they're going to shift shirts and sell boots anymore. We've had enough of that.
Yeah, sell him, ship him, but the question is what are you going to get for this guy? We heard Daniel on about that he's the most talented player. For me, he does maybe 40 or 50 seconds of magic. Now, that could score you a goal, or it could set you up a goal, but you're dealing with 88 minutes of putrid effort, putrid body language. As I said, there was the kind of like 5 or 6 games against very poor teams when Ole came in that it was almost like Pogba was kind of almost doing it to piss off Mourinho. He was kind of like going, okay, Josie, I'll show you why you didn't like me and why you didn't want me to get my Rolls Royce down after the game and not go on the bus with the rest of the team. And I'm going to show you how good I am. And he went around and did that for 5 or 6 games against, as I said, pretty poor teams. But I really, are you going to follow Paul Pogba into war? If he's charging down, Game of Thrones style, are you running in behind him? I know I'd be a good 4 or 5 rows back behind Pogba anyway, because he's going to get slaughtered pretty quick. Could
you just sign N'Golo Kante and play them the way they played for France and go, look, he's going to do all the work, you're going to do all the flashy stuff, but you got to help him out a little bit because he's your buddy.
He got away with it with France because he had a bunch of athletes around him, and I think we've seen United stats. I know they're not the best running team in the league. When he was with France, he had a bunch of athletes around him, and Kante, to be honest, there's 2 of N'Golo Kante's around the place. There's 2 of them on your team, so he's going to cover for. He'd cover for my. If I was midfield with N'Golo Kante, he's going to cover for me. So never mind Paul Pogba. But I think he had a bunch of athletes around him with France, sure. And I honestly don't know what top. Maybe Madrid, because he'll just be a name and he's such a big profile. That's the obvious one. Maybe him and De Gea going to Madrid for big money, and hopefully letting Solskjaer go away and try and build a bit of a culture and build a bit of United and weed these guys out, because they're toxic. I would say they're toxic in a dressing room, that kind of stuff. Like, I'd say if Roy Keane was inside in that dressing room with Paul Pogba, there'd be only one fella coming out.
Yeah. Manager patience is our next topic.
Yeah, manager patience. Yeah, go.
Yeah, so this is not necessarily the best week that I've ever chosen to make this, but it's about Stephen Bradley at Shamrock Rovers. Obviously, they're coming off the back of that 2-0 defeat down to 9 men against Bows during the week. In the Dublin Derby, before the biggest crowds that we've seen in a long time, maybe ever, at the League of Ireland game. My point here is that last season, Stephen Bradley was under so much pressure because the results were really bad, but the Rovers board decided that they were going to have patience and they were going to see this experiment through, and they were going to give him the opportunity to make his mistakes. In Irish sport, that almost never happens. There's very few instances of managers being given an extra year to see what's going to happen and to come out the other side of it. Certainly not in GAA. You kind of go, a manager gets a first year in, it's like first year, and the second year doesn't go well, it's like off you go. There's a few examples where things have turned around in GAA history, but I think Shamrock Rovers deserve a lot of credit for giving Bradley the opportunity. He is a young manager, he is cutting his teeth, this is his first gig, and it's the exact thing that we don't have in Irish sport is we're the tyranny of right now, and the current result and exactly what has just happened dictates policy, as opposed to we have a long-term view, we have a plan, and doing nothing is sometimes the bravest thing and the best thing for everybody involved. I think we need to have more patience in Irish sport generally.
I couldn't agree with you more, and we're getting it from across the water, I won't lie. There's managers that are brilliant. We just talked about it. Solskjaer was brilliant, and then I'm reading stuff about, should we get it? You said it at the top of the show. Are they a bit disappointed they stuck with him now? So, of course, there has to be more patience given to managers. When you take over a team, it's going to take a while to get in. But whatever you're saying, Jar, the players are getting away with absolute murder. I'm sure the players didn't perform as well as they would have wanted for Shamrock Rovers last year. I'm sure the players are performing this year. And at the end of the day, the manager, unless he's a manager that's really has it wrong with the way he's playing, and the whole stadium and the club don't feel it, absolutely, if it's kind of coming from that far down and you just hate the way they're playing. But like, even me as a Chelsea fan, I called to keep Sarri, months ago when people were saying that we were playing poor, we weren't scoring. But I just keep him, because you have to give fellas a chance to embed their philosophy. We talked about a Pep had an average first year and he's been flawless since. Give people time to to get their message across, give people time to get their shape on the dressing room is huge, I feel. And I couldn't agree with you more. That's big. We have to have more patience for managers and maybe a bit less patience for players.
Okay, fair enough, which is interesting because obviously you've been on that side of things. We are going to put you on the spot this week. Before the championship starts, we're asking you to pick your top 6 forwards in the country. It's not your top 6 forwards in the country, it's a forward line. You can pick whoever you want. It's a blank canvas. You're the manager, and it's not an all-star team. It's a team of 6 who will be the forward half of your team.
Of my dream team?
Yeah. Who's on it?
I'll start at 12. Kieran Kilkenny, Dublin. True point guard on a football pitch, directs everything, has a great sense of game time scenarios, what's needed. He can do it all. He can go on the power pack run, he can kick the score, he can go through on goal, set up a goal, he can catch ball in the middle of the field, he can run all day, he's athletic, he's strong, he makes all the good decisions for his teammates, never shows any ounce of greed, and can win breaking ball. So from a modern day half forward, he pretty much has everything in the locker. His body physique and his strength. Went to Australia. It's a pity they didn't keep him down there, I won't lie.
He's 25.
Yeah, I think he wanted to come back. I think, to be honest, I think he could see what was on the cards with Dublin. I think he could see the type of players that he was going to be around, the setups he was going to be in. The juggernaut was just about taking off in Dublin, and I think he kind of went, yeah, I'm going to have a bit of this. They'd won the All-Ireland in 2011 around the time he was, I think he might have been down there or just back. But it's what he can bring in all facets of the game that I would definitely have him on at 12. Out of Shawnee O'Shea from Kerry at 11. Natural centre half forward is a very hard position to master, because you got to be out, you got to be in the dirty work, you got to be on the ball, you got to be getting back, you got to be helping the inside line, you got to be linking the inside line, you have to be out for the defenders coming out. It's a bit of everything. You have to have an extremely obviously big engine to do it, but you have to have ability, and Sean O'Shea has ability not only from set play, from his kicking ability off his hands, which we played Kenmare this week in the club championship last Sunday down in Kenmare. Sean O'Shea kicked these 6 or 7 points, coming on the loop, coming around the shoulder, flawless. Like every time he kicked it, I was kind of like hoping for it to go wide. And the minute he left his boot, you could just, when I'm watching a player far down the pitch, when he kicks it, I just look at him, I don't look at the ball, because I can tell by his reaction if it's going over or not. And every time he kicked it, he just turned and started jogging out, so I knew it was a score. Set plays has been amazing this year. His frees have been absolutely brilliant in all types of pressure kicks, tough conditions, sideline balls, outside of the boot, inside of the boot. Has a bit of everything, so I'd have Sean O'Shea at 11.
Number 10.
10, Diarmuid Connolly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you know that the Dublin management setup don't know?
That he's one of the best half forwards in the country, and that if I was picking a team for my life tomorrow morning, he'd be there, number 10. Right half forward, 6'3", can move, can glide across the top of the ground, can kick off inside and outside of both legs. A tough nut as well. Yeah, he's on my team because he's got a bit of magic. He doesn't suffer fools lightly. He's in your face. He's intimidating. He can back it all up with his football abilities. So, yeah, Diarmuid Connolly is in at 10 in my dream team.
Would he have made it in Kerry's team?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty easy.
On your team?
Yeah.
On any team?
Yeah.
He would be on any team anywhere, wouldn't he?
I think in his
any era.
Any era. I think on his day, because he struggled at the start for a while, but once he found his feet and got in a regular spot in the team, he'd do some things that would frustrate you at times, but every player that has that bit of magic does that, but I think his general deliverance for Dublin in big games, that has to go into he'd get on any team because his football ability and his size, and he's just such a freak athlete. I think if you throw him on a football pitch 20 or 30 years ago, I think they wouldn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
I know what they'd want to do with him, try and take that off him, but and probably get away with it if it was 40 or 50 years ago. But
he'd be getting away with it too when he's doing it back to you.
Yeah, he's big enough and strong enough to look after himself if he could. So yeah, he's on my team right half forward.
Full forward line?
Full forward line. Mannion at 13. He went away for a while. He went away for a year, like, you know, and we all were like, you know, he was a good player. But Jesus, since he came back, he's just like, it was like he went away and did weights for 6 months and just came back this physical specimen that was quick, that was direct, that really gonna, if you're gonna go out as a cornerback on Paul Mannion, you better be ready to deny him the ball and play in front and make him catch tough ball over your head, because if you're going to stand behind him, let him go out in front of you and win ball and get him turned, he's going to take you on all day long, which is what every good corner forward, if you're a young corner forward and you get the ball early in the game, you got to test your man's pulse, and there's no better fella than this fella, Ger, I think, to test your pulse, to actually go, look, get the ball, look you right between the eyes and say, I'm going at you and try and stop me if you can, and if you foul me, my buddy Dean is going to pop it over the bar anyway. So he's got a great way of taking men on. I think he's added goals, he kicked great points for Dublin, and he's really, in the last few years, he's really been one of the ringleaders for them, and I think right now on form, he probably gets in my team right now at corner forward.
Himself and Kilkenny are both 25, turning 26 this summer.
Yeah.
Which is mad. There's 2 months between them in terms of age. Mannion's 2 months older, but
exactly. Talk about the success they've known since they've come in. Is all it's been is success.
And they've another 5 years left at this level, and then another 3 years left where they're like unbelievably experienced. And
and then they get to the period where we talked about in SHOTCLOCK a few weeks ago, where we say keep playing, boys. If you're Kieran Kilkenny and you're 35 and you can still move around out there, keep playing. So there could be 10 years left in both those fellas, Ger, which is kind of scary for the rest of the country, but that's what it is. I'll move on to full forward, and this was tough because we'd lots of, I'd kind of between Paul Gainey, Conor McManus and Michael Murphy, but Michael Murphy plays a lot out the middle of the field. Paul Gainey plays some in the corner. So I went with kind of McManus. I know he wears 15 a lot, but they play two men inside full forward line most of the time, and he just is electric.
Yeah.
I remember when he came on, he played wing back against us, and I think in 2007 in Croke Park in an All-Ireland quarter-final, when he was a young 18, 19-year-old. Just think of Kieran McMahon, or Colin McManus, there at wing back. Like,
what was Banty thinking, do you think?
Obviously that he might do it to Tomas O'Shea and go forward and kick 3 or 4 points, because that's what he would have been thinking. I would say would be like, this fella will attack here. He's obviously a very good footballer. Banty would have known. I'd say Banty said he's so good at football, I got to get him on my team somewhere. Maybe he wasn't there yet on a forward sense, but you know, wing back in the modern day when you're going up and down the pitch and you can kind of get away with it. I think you're seeing more and more forwards kind of be utility halfbacks now. I think Ger Power would have a great career right now if he came into the setup, because Power could play a bit anywhere. But yeah, McManus from Monaghan is just he's got everything. He's tough, he's ballsy, he kicks big scores. He kicks scores when you need them, which is what you want in a player, but he also goes for the juggler when the time is right. And I feel for him sometimes, because when it gets to these real big games, you know, I'm just looking in there and there's 3 or 4 fellas around him all the time, and you know, they're daring the other Monaghan players to say, come on, you got to beat us, because he's not beating us. But he would be my full forward in that team, and obviously at 15 would be
David Clifford.
Yeah, of course.
There's no one else.
Yeah, they're the two men that are gonna
shoot Kerry to glory this year. Go on, say it.
Yeah.
Say what you want to say.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they're going to shoot Kerry to glory some year anyway. We hope it's this year. But
2 quiet, shy, retiring lads as well, aren't they?
Yeah, no, they're 2 right good bios, which is what you need, and which is what Kerry need. And yeah, but Clifford is he's really good. He's really down to earth. I think he's getting used to being targeted now. I think, like Darren O'Sullivan at minor level, he was targeted, but when you're being targeted by senior players and a group of senior defenders, so it's not just the cornerback just doesn't go out and have words with you, it's every fella has a clip off you when he's near you, and every fella pushes you down to the ground when you're trying to get back up, and they really try and test your pulse. And I think he got a cheap lesson last year in the county championship in Kerry. You know, there was a team at that with him from minute 1 right through to the end of the game. There was a replay, they were at it again, and eventually he snapped. And
is that the day of the brawl?
Yeah, was it the day of the brawl? It was
the first game.
Yeah, that was the first game. It was the second game. It was the second game. I think he lashed out and got sent off. And I remember, you know, people afterwards saying, "Oh, geez, he left to hold his head," and I was like, he's getting tormented from minute one to from the whole first game and the second game. So
in that situation, is there a procession of Kerry elders who are sent out, lads, go out there now, sit down with them, tell them what to expect, explain it's going to happen for the rest of your life, and this is what you're going to do? Is there? I
think he's actually smart enough to know it. I think he's a hugely intelligent man.
Notwithstanding, we all know truths, but sometimes it's useful having somebody have a little quiet word.
Yeah, it is.
What will you do the next time this happens?
Yeah, I actually dropped him a line after that game, because I was 20 yards away from it in the stand, and I heard all this shit in the crowd and certain people from the opposition's team kind of giving it to him going away, and I always look at that sometimes and go, these are the same people that are going to be hoping David Clifford brings us to the promised land. And I hate when people, I know it can be parochial, but I wish people would rise above it sometimes in them instances, that when it's your own county guy and he's a big guy, you know, he gets sent off, but the kind of cheer, like kind of a bit of a cheer and, oh, good enough for you, that kind of stuff. Like he's our 19-year-old prodigy that's turned down lucrative money in Australia to come try and bring us back to a tilt at All Ireland's, and we've Kerry people kind of jeering him because he snapped after taking a game and a half of hassle, and you know, people not being clued in enough around to call it to the referee's attention. Look, he's been targeted, he's been pulled, he's been dragged, but you know, at the same time, he knows that when you're a county player and you go back to your club setup, you got to be ready to take on everything, because there's going to be people coming for you. But I think the lesson he learned that day, and it was a county championship quarter final, you know, my kind of message was to him, it's bad and it's tough and hard looking, but it'd be far worse for you if it was an All-Ireland semi-final and you snapped with somebody. And I think you'll take what happened to you today and use it wisely going forward. Because I said, this is the future for you, Dave. It's, you know, like Gooch went through it for 16 years. You know, you're going to go through the same, where you're going to be targeted non-stop by the defenders of the opposition because they're trying to rattle your cage.
And did he listen? Were you?
Well, yeah, we did a little over and back about it. But he's, you know, I was only doing it because I'd been there. I remember getting sent off after my first All Ireland outing against St. Brendan's out in a place called Lerrig, and it was St. Brendan's in the championship would have Artfort with them, and they'd be a real kind of it'd be a real tough place to go in a game. No, you wouldn't want to be fighting for your life heading to Artfort for a big game, but they're part of the St. Brendan's board, and I was out there getting absolutely dogged, I was running down the field at one stage and a fella ran past me and clattered me full palm into the back of the head without me being ready for it. You know, it was like, you know, the old teacher coming from behind you in class and you're not ready for it and you're getting that slap. There's shock and it's sore. And that was all going on, and eventually I snapped and let the guns go. And next thing, the ref, I just slapped him and turned around, and the ref was right there, kind of going, already fumbling to trying to get his red card out super quick. And I remember heading to the sideline, kind of going, yeah, Kieran, that was silly. You should have been ready for that. You should have known that was coming. And I got it even the following year to start the league with Kerry. I was all of a sudden this marked man, from going from an average midfielder to all of a sudden everybody targeting me before games and targeting me during games. And
so it did take you a while to get used to it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I was saying to him that time. I said, take this as the lesson. You've learnt your lesson. You've learnt that when things are going bad for you and you're under pressure and there's fellas, you know, you're tying your laces and the fella's coming over bashing you onto the ground and you want to get up and go at him, you got to know that, you know, there's other answers for that type of behaviour, and that's get the ball and bang it over the bar and go out and smile in his face. That's the ideal way. And whereas I didn't have the ability to do that and had to fight fire with fire, which was get back in your face when backs were at me, if I was as good as David Clifford, I would never go down the road that I went down. I'd just say, give me the fucking ball, I'm going to take you on and bury it and walk out and start talking trash to you. Which is why Jordan was the best trash talker in the NBA ever, because he could back it all up. So that'd be my 6 forwards. We can put a little poll up and get people to put in their comments. There's probably a few fellas unlucky. Diarmuid O'Connor's unlucky from Mayo. If I had to go on a technicality, because Connolly's not in the Dublin squad now, Diarmuid O'Connor will be drafted right in.
Okay.
But I was asked to pick the best 6 forwards in Ireland right now.
No Conor Callaghan, no Ian Burke, no Shane Walsh, no Damien Comer.
Yeah, there's loads of fellas unlucky. Don't get me wrong. I just have Diarmuid O'Connor written in here as a kind of a 55-minute sub for Connolly when he's tired, because he's lacking match practice at the moment. We
obviously put you on the spot with this morning. We might put you on the spot for the best 6 forwards from your playing career. from 2006 to 2018.
Okay, for next week?
Next week, yeah.
Okay. I have a bit of time thinking about that. Thanks for giving me a bit of time.
Yeah, no worries. Proper heads up. I wasn't going to, but then we ended up having that good conversation too. So, right, that's it for Shot Clock this week.